Zaxby's, indescribably good.
Well, good evening, Raider fans, and welcome back to the 2010 Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show as we open the 2010 season this Saturday afternoon against Brookwood at the Georgia Dome. Hello, I'm Kurt Schreiner alongside of our head coach, Rocky Hidalgo, here at Walton High School, and we're coming to you today from the studio live at the Dudley Fieldhouse on the campus of Walton High School. And this year, Rocky, we've got an extra surprise. You have gone and become a sponsored coaches show.
We've hit the big time here, man.
Our 2010 coaches show is brought to you by Zaxby's, which I think that's the first time in the history of Internet Coaches Show we have moved from no sponsor to a full-fledged sponsor with Zaxby's, and we want to thank them for their support of Walton Raider football and obviously the set that we have here today. I mean, it looks terrific, Coach. Coach, what a summer. I mean, over the summer we get a new turf in the stadium, we get a new scoreboard, and for any of the Raider fans that were there when we dedicated the scoreboard several weeks ago, I was up in the press box, and one moment I looked down and I said to Bob McLeod, I said, Bob, it looks like I'm looking at the Georgia Dome from up here. But what are your thoughts real quickly just on Raider Valley? We'll talk about it in a couple weeks before the Milton game, but what a transformation.
Well, our goal here moving forward is to make sure that the Raider Valley and the stadium itself reflects the accomplishments of our academic programs and our athletic programs. And we don't feel that it did that in the past. And moving forward, I think the turf and the scoreboard kind of brings it up a notch, and we want to make sure that we go out and finish what we've started in there. And hopefully by 2011 we'll finish the whole deal and have new concessions and bathrooms, and it'll be something that our whole community can be proud of.
Yeah, if you're a Raider fan, whether it be for soccer, lacrosse, or football, all the booster clubs are going to be looking for your financial support. The plans for Raider Valley that we'll talk about a little bit more in a few weeks are fantastic, and it truly will be the top high school athletic complex in Georgia.
I think so.
Coach, you're starting your second year. Here you get ready to kick off your second year. What's different about this summer as you get ready for your second season versus where you were 1 year ago?
That's a tough question. For me, I think the biggest thing is the adjustment from being the defensive coordinator to being the head coach. I feel more comfortable kind of at the head coach's role, kind of getting a more of an idea of how to manage the game and really how to manage coaches. At times I really struggled last year of kind of going from the defensive coordinator to being the head coach, and I was still trying to coach individual kids, and you can do that a little bit, but you really got to focus on making sure the coaches are doing what they're supposed to do. So that's really where my focus has been, making sure that our planning's been better, making sure that we're making wise use of our time.
As you looked out over the winter time, was there anything in particular that you looked back on the season and said, hey, okay, we ended after the Pope game, it was a little disappointing, but what are some of the changes that I want to make now that I've put one season under my belt?
The biggest thing is that we wanted to make sure that we put more of an emphasis on defense. Over the past 5 or 6 years, we'd kind of gotten to the point, philosophically, we were putting our best players on offense to make sure that we could get points on the board. And I think we probably took it a little far last year. We had some guys on the offensive side of the ball that could have helped us. We were kind of deficient from a foot speed standpoint on defense, and I think that hurt us some. We were susceptible to big plays. Our kids played hard, but we just didn't have the foot speed sometime to match it with some of the teams that we're competing against. So we really went back this year and we said we want to put our most talented players over on the defensive side of the ball. We've got to play great defense if we want to compete for a state championship. And that's been a real emphasis for us moving forward.
Now you go to the Georgia Dome again, and the Raiders have been to the Georgia Dome a number of times for the semifinals, but also for the Corky Kell Classic. Today's AJC had an article about how Walton has always sold out its ticket allotment for the games at the Dome. What does it mean to the kids in the program to be playing at the Georgia Dome to open the season?
It's neat. As a high school kid to get to run out there on a Saturday afternoon in the Georgia Dome with 25,000, 30,000 people in the stands screaming at you, most people don't get that kind of experience. It's a great experience for our kids. They love going down there. I can tell you as a coach, I love going to coach down there in the Dome. I want to coach in big environments, big venues against great football teams. It's a challenge to go down there and play Brookwood. Our fans are excited about it. Our football team is really excited about it. I know what it feels like to run out through that tunnel on the Georgia Dome. You get those goosebumps out there and the hair stands up on the back of your neck. I know 107 of our kids, when they do that, they'll go out there, they'll feel the same thing. It'll be an experience they will not be able to forget.
No, it's a memory that they'll take into their grave. I mean, I played at the Georgia Dome, and that's a big deal. All right, Coach, let's talk about the 2010 team, and here we are a couple of days away from the the opener there at the Dome against Brookwood. Offensively, you bring back a number of returning players. You bring back a quarterback who's got some experience in Bradley Kilborn. What have you seen during the preseason? What are your expectations for Saturday?
Our football team, especially our offensive football team, we're a little inexperienced on the offensive line. We've got great senior leadership. Bradley's done a great job taking over at quarterback. Our running backs, both those guys played for us last year. But offense is tough. When you're inexperienced, offense is all about execution. And right now we kind of talk about the typewriter effect. We have guys who are running around out there who haven't played a whole lot of football. They haven't played a whole lot under the lights on Fridays. So we're having some execution errors out there, and we call that typewriter effect. We've got one key strike, and we've got 10 guys doing the right thing and one guy doing the wrong thing. We're trying to eliminate that. We all want to work in unison. We've got to have 11 guys working together. We've got a little bit of that going on. It's expected. It's early in the year, and with the inexperience we have on the offensive line, that's kind of expected. And from coaches, or from the coaches' standpoint, we keep talking to the coaches to make sure that we're out there coaching kids, and I tell them, let's make great use of our time. We talk about we want to be a great coaching staff. Let's make sure that when we hit the field, we're doing a great job coaching our kids at every second of every day when we're out there. Don't miss opportunities to coach our kids, because we need all the opportunities we can get right now because we're so inexperienced.
Now, Coach, before we move to the defensive side of the ball, we want to take a break for a message from our sponsor, Zaxby's.
Zaxby's, indescribably good.
And welcome back to the Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show. And, Coach, as we finished up talking about the offensive side of the football, defense has been a hallmark of Walton football over the years. You mentioned that the last couple of years you may have gotten away from that. This year, though, it looks like you've got a really interesting mix of guys coming back with experience, but some real impact young players. Really defensively, we're really starting 10 new guys this year. We've got some guys who played a little bit. Orrin Whitaker's played some. Brad Noble played some. Matt LaMontagne has been a great player for us last year, and he's got a lot of experience. He's our leader on the field defensively. He's kind of like a coach on the field. He's a really smart kid, and he's a great player, and he knows really where they're all supposed to be, which is good for us. But we've got 10 guys out there who are really kind of getting a feel of what it's going to be like to go play ball. The good news is we've got a ton of athleticism over there. I'm really excited about our defense this year. I think we've got some guys over there who have a really edge to them. They're kind of fierce competitors. I don't think everything's going to go off like clockwork when we hit the field on Saturday, but I think people are going to be really surprised about, one, how we can run, and two, how physical some of our players are. We've got some kids who really have a lot of ability, and some of them they'll knock the taste out of your mouth. We have not had that as a group in a lot of years, and I think over the course of this season, as the season goes on, those guys get more experience. I think we're really going to be something on defense. I'm excited about watching this group develop over the course of the year. And I'll be honest with you, I'm really excited the fact that 9 of them are going to be back next year too, because I think we're going to have a great defense this year. And moving forward, we've got a chance to really have some stellar defensive teams over the next 2 years. That'll be terrific, especially when you know that you're going to have a lot of experience on the field this year that'll translate over to next year. Coach, special teams last year were a little difficult. Walton historically has always had very strong special teams, and last year was a bit of a challenging year from that perspective. What are you seeing right now in terms of 2010 on the special teams side?
I think we have some solid kickers. Our Zach Miller, who kicked for us last year. Zach, unfortunately, last year he had a bad thigh bruise that he came into the season with from rugby. Zach is a decorated rugby player. Played on the U.S. 16 and under or 17 and under national team. And he had a bad thigh bruise coming into the season last year, and he was never really healthy at the beginning of the year, and probably made some bad decisions on my part of letting him go out there and compete early in the season. And basically what ended up happening with Zach is he went out there and was over-kicking because he didn't really have the leg strength because he was still dinged up, and he really never found his groove. He's kicking the ball really well right now. Unfortunately, he's got a little shoulder issue He's going to kick off for us in the Georgia Dome, and his instructions, he's been cleared by the doctor. He's going to kick off and run to the sideline, which is kind of pretty funny.
Hard to do if you're a rugby player, though, because you want to go hit somebody.
Right. He is. And he's a tough kid. He wants to run down and tackle, and he's dying to get out there and try to tackle somebody. But I saw him kick the ball and the tee and get off the field. He want to know, what does he do if they're returning the football? I said, kick it in the end zone and don't worry about it. He's got a big leg. He kicked it out of the end zone 2 times the other day. And, we're excited to have him back and healthy. His legs are healthy right now. He's kicking the ball really well. And I think he's going to be a great kicker for us, especially when his shoulder heals up.
Good.
We've got 2 young kickers in Anthony Price and Nathan Dittmer, who's been working while Zach has been recuperating. They're very accurate kickers. They're both young guys. Their legs are still developing, but we feel good about them kicking the ball from probably 45 yards and in.
That's terrific.
So I think what you'll see out of us, I think we'll have a little more production from the kickers this year on the field goal department. Nakai Poole returns to do some punting for us. He punted really well last year when he got the opportunity, and I suspect he'll do it again this year. I kind of get a kick out of Nakai because he's not a real emotional guy. He's not a guy that's going to get out there in a game and panic or anything. And last year we ran him out there as a sophomore, and I think his first punt was about 60 yards in the Georgia Dome versus Norcross. So we feel good about our punter. I think we've got a lot of foot speed to run down on the coverage teams, and that's about 70% of special teams as it is. So we're really excited about those guys we've got running around out there and about our kickers and punters.
Good. That's great. That's great. Coach, tell us what you expect to see from Brookwood. What are the Walton with the Broncos?
They're going to be a lot like us. Years ago we modeled our program after the Brookwood Broncos when they were competing for state championships, and we felt like we got up to their echelon. We were up to the upper echelon here in the state of Georgia. We were competing in the state semifinals, and we still feel that well. Brookwood's probably one of the 5 or 10 best teams in the state. They've got 14 kids coming back on the team that played 12 games. Last year, they were a young team and they lost to McEachern. Really was embarrassing. McEachern in the first game of the season came back in game 11. McEachern was one of the, I think, rated 3 at the time, and beat McEachern in the first round of the playoffs. So for us, we've always modeled after their coaching staff, their football program. Their coaches are very good friends of ours. We've got a lot of respect for their guys. Their kids are going to play hard. They're going to be big, strong, physical. They're going to be good on defense. They're going to run the football. They've got a 3-year starter returning at quarterback, and they've got a wide receiver with an offer from Michigan State. So it's going to be a big challenge down there. But I can tell you this: when they line up out there, the field is probably going to tilt over to their side because they always have some big men over there.
In addition to a new sponsor this year, Coach, we've got a little thing which we've got kind of our version of viewer mail. And we solicited this from a young viewer from last year. And if you want to send a question in, you can do it through the website and to contact us. And Mr. McLeod will sift through those questions for us. But this one's from a young man who's in elementary school and wants to play football. But he's saying, Coach, when did you decide to become a football coach? And do you have any relatives that were coaches before you that influenced you? I added the word influence.
There you go.
Yeah, but
that's a really smart kid. My daughter doesn't use influence yet. I don't think it's.
I ad-libbed that piece, but yeah, it actually said, did you have relatives that were coaches?
My dad coached me when I was growing up. He ran little league football programs in my hometown. He actually built what they call the Ament River Football League from a group of about 6 teams. At one time, when he gave it up, was about 30. This has been 25, almost 30 years ago. I guess I started when I was 6.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was a little kid, my dad would be in there doodling up football plays, and I'd doodle up football plays. I would go up and sit in the stands. When I was in junior high, I'd he put me on the headphones, and I would talk to him about what the offense and defense were doing. I always wanted to be a football coach. I knew when I was a little kid that's what I wanted to do. The game's been a passion of my father's. It was a passion for me, and I love the game of football. Love working with young men, and as much as I love playing, I probably enjoy coaching it even more. And it's just the capacity that you have to impact kids, and I just love to watch our kids go out and compete on Friday night and play well.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, folks, we go back and we face the Broncos at the Georgia Dome on Saturday afternoon. Raiders versus Broncos, and this has been the first edition of the 2010 Rocky Hidalgo Coaches Show, sponsored by Zaxby's. We'll see you next week.